Welcome everyone. In this lecture of quantum mechanics, I am going to discuss about the Schrodinger equation, and this topic will be discussed from the book Quantum Mechanics, a textbook for undergraduate by M.C. Jain. So let us start the discussion. In the previous lectures about quantum mechanics, we have discussed about the concept of wave function psi rt. So what is the wave function? Wave function is assumed to describe the dynamical state of a particle. Later, we have also learned about wave packet. What is wave packet? Wave packet is formed by superposing plane waves of different wave numbers. Now, it is clear that in order to make further progress, we must have a method of determining wave functions in a systematic manner. That is, we are going to determine the wave function that is psi rt in a systematic manner. But how we can do this? So in that case, we need a wave equation, and solving this equation, we may obtain the wave function at any point rt in space and time if we are given suitable initial and boundary conditions. So we need some initial conditions and boundary conditions for a particular wave equation, and solving that wave equation, we can determine the wave function psi rt. It is obvious that such an equation cannot be derived. We cannot derive such types of equation. Like all fundamental equations of physics, it must be guessed or arrived at in a heuristic manner. Now, before discussing this wave equation, we have to discuss about some restrictions about this equation. So, what are the restrictions? First is it must be linear and homogeneous so that the superposition principle holds. That is, if psi1 and psi2 are solutions of the equation, any linear combination a1 psi1 plus a2 psi2 must also be a solution. This is the superposition principle. It must be a differential equation of the first order with respect to time, so that the evolution of the system is completely determined if the wave function is known at a given initial time. This is also important condition, that the equation should be a differential equation of first order with respect to time. Why? Because in that case, the evolution of the system is completely determined if the wave function is known at a given initial time. So from the initial condition, we can determine the evolution of the system. The third restriction is this, that it must be consistent with the Planck-Einstein relation E is equal to h cut omega, the de Broglie relation P is equal to h cut k, and the correspondence principle. And this equation was discovered by Erwin Schrodinger in 1926 and is called the Schrodinger equation. So let us discuss about the time dependent Schrodinger equation. To begin with, we consider the one-dimensional motion of a free particle of mass m. So we are considering a free particle whose mass is m, and this particle is moving in the positive x direction with momentum p and energy E. Such a particle can be described by the monochromatic plane wave, and the equation of the plane wave psi is equal to a e to the power I px minus et by h cut. Here is a constant. If we differentiate this equation with respect to time, then this will give del psi by del t is equal to minus I by h cut into psi, or I h cut del psi by del t is equal to E into psi. Now if we differentiate twice with respect to x, that is if this equation is differentiated twice with respect to s, then we will obtain minus h cut square del square psi by del x square equal to p square into psi, and by rearranging, that is dividing by 2m, this will give minus h cut square by 2m del square by psi by del x square is equal to p square by 2m into psi. Now look at the right hand side of this equation, that is I h cut del psi by del t equal to E psi. In the right hand side there is E psi, and here in the right hand side there is p square by 2m into psi. So p square by 2m means E. We know that E equal to p square by 2m. So right hand side of this equation, that is equation number 6.2, and right hand side of this equation, that is equation number 6.4 is same. So we can write, combining these two equations, I h cut del psi by del t is equal to minus h cut square by 2m del square psi by del x square. Now this equation is one-dimensional time-dependent Schrodinger equation for a free particle. It should be noted that this particle is free particle, and this equation is linear and homogeneous in nature. And the point to note is that this equation will also be satisfied by the wave packet. This equation is the equation of the wave packet that we have discussed in our earlier lecture. So this is the equation of the wave packet, and it can be easily seen that Schrodinger equation will be satisfied by this wave packet. You see that if we differentiate this equation with respect to time, then it will give I h cut del psi by del t is equal to this one, if this is differentiated with respect to time. And if we differentiate twice with respect to x, so if we write left hand side in this way, that is minus h cut square by 2m del square psi by del x square, and differentiating the right hand side twice with respect to s, then the right hand side will be this one. Now right hand side of this equation and right hand side of this equation is equal because E is equal to p square by 2m. So we can say that the Schrodinger equation is satisfied by the equation of the wave packet, that is given in equation 6.7. It is clear that the Schrodinger equation for a free particle satisfies the three restrictions that we have mentioned in our discussion. To see how it satisfies the correspondence principle, we note that this equation is in a sense the quantum mechanical translation of the classical equation 6.5. 6.5 means this one, that is E equal to p square by 2m. This is the classical equation. Energy is equal to given by momentum square by 2m. E equal to p square by 2m. But the Schrodinger equation that we are saying, that quantum mechanical translation of the classical equation. Again, you look that Schrodinger equation is in a sense the quantum mechanical translation of the classical equation E equal to p square by 2m, where the energy E and the momentum P are represented by differential operator. So the point to note is that E equal to p square by 2m is the equation in classical mechanics, and the same equation in quantum mechanics is provided by the Schrodinger equation. And energy E and momentum P, they can be represented as differential operators. We can write energy operator is equal to I h cut del del t and momentum operator equal to minus I h cut del del x. So these are the operator representation of energy and momentum. So if we represent Schrodinger equation in terms of operator, so it will look like this. E into psi, E cap into psi is equal to P cap square by 2m into psi, where E cap is given by I h cut del del t and P cap is given by minus I h cut del del x. So the same Schrodinger equation which we have derived earlier, that is I h cut del psi by del t is equal to minus h cut square by 2m del square psi by del x square, same equation can be represented in operator form. E cap psi is equal to P cap square by 2m into psi, where E cap is equal to I h cut del del t P cap is equal to minus I h hat del x. It is a postulate of quantum mechanics that even when the particle is not free, please note that we are right now discussing about the free particle, but even when the particle is not free, E and P are still represented by the operators given in these equations. The above treatment can be easily extended to three dimension. So if we extended it to three dimension, then the equation of the plane wave will be like this: psi rt is equal to a e to the power I p dot r minus et by h hat. In one dimension, the equation was like this. You see again, the equation was like this: a e to the power I px minus et by h hat. Px, it was px, but when you are going to represent it in three dimension, then you have to write in this way, that is p dot r. In place of px, it will be p dot r minus et by h hat. The operator representation of P in that case would be P cap is equal to minus I h hat del. So you note that in three dimension, P cap will be minus I h hat del. So this is equivalent to Px cap is equal to minus I h hat del x, Py cap is equal to minus I h hat del y, and Pz cap is equal to minus I h hat del z. And the Schrodinger equation becomes, in three dimension, I h hat del psi by del t is equal to minus h hat square by 2m. You have to write del square psi. So in one dimension, the Schrodinger equation was like this, that del square psi by del x square. But when you are considering three dimension, there will be of the term that is del square psi by del y square, del square psi by del z square, and considering the all dimension, the equation will be like this, that is minus h hat square by 2m del square psi, where del square equal to del square by del x square plus del square by del y square plus del square by del z square. Now we will discuss about the particle which is in a force field. So if the particle is in a force field, in that case the Schrodinger equation to the case of a particle acted upon by a force which is derivable from a potential V. So suppose the particle is in a force field where the potential is V, potential energy is V, then the total energy will be the sum of kinetic energy plus potential energy. In the previous case, there was free particle, there is no potential energy, there was only kinetic energy. That is why we have written E is equal to P square by 2m. Now as there is potential energy also, so we have to write E in terms of total energy. So this one is the kinetic energy, this is the potential energy. Since V does not depend on E or P, the above discussion for the free particle suggests that the wave function should satisfy E into psi is equal to P square by 2m plus V into psi. So operator E should be written in terms of both kinetic energy and potential energy. Previously it was P cap square by 2m. Now we have to write P cap square by 2m plus potential energy V. And if we incorporate the potential energy term, then ultimately the Schrodinger equation will become, the left hand side is same, but in right hand side minus h hat square del square by 2m plus VRT into psi RT. That is, additionally we have to incorporate this term, that is potential energy term. So this equation is known as the time dependent Schrodinger equation. The operator on the right hand side is called the Hamiltonian operator and is denoted by the symbol H. So what is the Hamiltonian operator? This bracketed term, that is H equal to minus h hat square del square by 2m plus V. This is known as the Hamiltonian operator. The name follows from the fact that in classical mechanics, the sum of the kinetic and potential energies of a particle is called its Hamiltonian. That is why the name of the operator is Hamiltonian operator. The Schrodinger equation is the basic equation of non-relativistic quantum mechanics, and it must be emphasized that we have not derived it. Like any basic law, this equation cannot be proved to be true. Its justification comes from successful comparison of the predictions based on it with experimental results in a large number of situations. This uh, line should be understood clearly. That is, justification of the Schrodinger equation comes from successful comparison of the prediction. That is, it predicts some experimental results in large number of situations, and from the successful prediction of the experimental results we can justify the Schrodinger equation. Now we will discuss about the statistical interpretation of the probability function and conservation of probability. We have already discussed in our earlier lecture about the wave function of the particle and its statistical interpretation proposed by Max Born. This fact was discussed in our earlier lectures. The interpretation is like this: if a particle is described by wave function psi, then the probability of finding the particle at time t within the volume element dr equal to dx dy dz about the point r is x comma y comma z is p dr is equal to mod of psi rt square dr is equal to psi star rt into psi rt dr. This fact is already known to us and we have discussed in our earlier lecture that probability p that can be expressed as psi star into psi. What is psi star? Psi star is the complex conjugate of psi. The quantity p is equal to mod of psi rt square, that is equal to psi star into psi, is obviously called the position probability density. Since the probability of finding the particle somewhere at time t is unity, actually it is the total probability. Total probability of finding the particle in some position with at time t is unity. The wave function is chosen to satisfy the normalization condition. That is, integration mod of psi rt square dr equal to 1. Total probability in that space, that must be 1. Total probability of finding the particle in some particular place at time t is unity, where the integral extends over all space. All space means that is total space that we are considering, that in which the particle is located. So that is why we are saying that integral extends over all space. The wave functions for which the above integral exists are said to be square integrable. That is, the wave function which satisfies this criteria is known as square integrable. It may be noted that plane wave are not square integrable, means plane wave described by equation 6.11. Let us look at the structure again. That is, this equation was the equation of the plane wave. Psi is equal to a e to the power I into p dot r minus et by h cut. This is the equation of the plane wave, and this plane wave is not satisfying this criteria, and this is not square integrable. A plane wave represents a free particle which has a well-defined momentum. That is the equation of the plane wave that is described in equation 6.11 has a well-defined momentum. Therefore, it is completely delocalized according to the uncertainty principle, because we know from our earlier discussion, that is, if you are going to define the momentum completely or specifically, then its position cannot be defined in a specific manner. So it should be delocalized particle, because both position and momentum cannot be well defined simultaneously as per the Heisenberg's uncertainty principle. However, we have seen that this difficulty can be overcome if the requirement that the particle should have a well defined momentum is given up. So if you give up the idea of well defined momentum, then you can localize the particle. We then obtain a localized wave packet which can be normalized to unity. In this book, we shall mainly concern with square integrable wave function. So what we will discuss about square integrable wave functions. However, Plane waves provide useful representation of particles in certain situations, and later we will discuss about this. Now at first let us see that what happens as time changes. So when time is changing, we will see that is what is the change in the wave function or probability. It is clear that the probability of finding the particle somewhere must remain conserved. That is, the normalization integral in 6.20, that is this normalization integral, that must be independent of time. We have to listen these lines very carefully. It is clear that the probability of finding the particle somewhere must remain conserved. That is, the normalization integration must be independent of time. So, del T of PR, that is, we are making derivative with respect to time. So, del T of PR is equal to del T of psi star into psi equal to 0, because as it is independent of time, as probability of finding the particle is conserved and it is independent of time, so del T of P must be 0, where the integral extends over all space. We have to consider all space. So how to prove that? So let us consider the Schrodinger equation. This is the Schrodinger equation, this one, and this is the complex conjugate of the Schrodinger equation. Now multiply the first equation, that is Schrodinger equation, by psi star, and the second equation means this equation you are multiplying by psi. Then we have to subtract those equations. After subtracting, we are getting equation 6.24. Now we are considering the time derivative of the integral of psi star into psi over a finite volume V. So del T of psi star into psi dr over volume V. So if we make this derivative, then you will obtain this one, first function into differentiation of the second function plus second function into differentiation of the first function, in this manner. Now this bracketed term you have to replace by this equation. You see that this term and this term is equal. This bracket, the term in the third bracket and the term in the first bracket. So you are putting the value of this term from equation 6.24. So we are obtaining this one, and after simplification, I is squared by 2m del dot psi star grad psi minus psi into grad psi star dr. So del T of psi star psi into dr is equal to this one. Let us define a vector j is equal to h cut by 2im psi star grad psi minus psi grad psi star. You see that I h cut by 2m has been written in terms of h cut by 2im. That is, you have to multiply I in both numerator and denominator. So you will obtain this one, h cut by 2im with a minus sign. So we are defining j as h cut by 2im psi star grad psi minus psi grad psi star. So if we define j by this function, then what we can write from equation 6.25, that is the left hand side is probability, that is integration psi star psi dr is probability. So del T of probability is equal to minus of del dot j into dr. You are writing this term in terms of j that we have defined in 6.26. So left hand side is del T of PR and right hand side of this equation becomes minus del dot j dr. And this equation can be transformed in surface integration by using Green's theorem. So left hand side again becomes minus integration j dot ds, because del dot j dr is equal to j dot ds, where the vector ds has magnitude equal to an element ds of the surface S and is directed along the outer normal to ds. We know this fact from the concept of vector algebra. Now this is a volume integration V. When V is the entire space, when you are considering volume as the entire space that you are considering, as is the case in the normalization integral, that is when you do the normalization process, you consider volume as the volume of the entire space. In that case, what will happen if you consider volume as the entire space, then surface S naturally recedes to infinity because you are considering the volume of the whole space. Then what will happen? The surface will increase and it will go to infinity. Since a square integrable wave function vanishes at large distances, you should note about this fact that if you consider a square integrable wave function, so that wave function vanishes at infinity. So what will happen actually? The surface integration becomes zero. That is the right hand side of the equation 6.28. The surface integration becomes zero. Why? Because the wave function will vanish at infinity. Actually, J has been interpreted in terms of wave function. You see the structure of J. J has been interpreted in terms of the wave function, but this wave function will vanish when surface is going to infinity. So ultimately the right side of equation 6.28 will become 0. So del T of P is 0. Actually that we have stated earlier. That is, from the conservation of probability, it is clear that the probability of finding the particle somewhere must remain conserved. So we have proved this fact in this way. Another thing to consider, you just see that this is the Schrodinger equation. I h cut del psi by del t is equal to h psi. Here we have represented Schrodinger equation in terms of h. If you make the complex conjugate of this equation, then it will become minus I h cut del psi star by del t equal to h psi star. Now using this equation, we can write del t of psi star psi, that is this one. So this term which was already discussed earlier, so psi star del psi by del t plus psi into del psi star by del t, we are writing these values from the equation 6.29 and 6.30. So this right hand side will become this one. Okay, so since the left hand side is 0, we have already proved that del t of p is 0 from the conservation of probability. So the right hand side is 0. So if right hand side is 0, then we can write integration psi star into h psi is equal to h psi star into psi. Actually, this is the property of the Hermitian operators. So the H, that is the Hamiltonian operator, is Hermitian. So we have proved in this way that Hamiltonian operator is Hermitian operator. Next, we will discuss about the probability current density. So what was equation 6.28? We just look back again. Equation 6.28 is this: del t of p is equal to minus integration j dot ds. It says that the rate of change of the probability of finding the particle in a volume V is equal to the probability flux passing through the surface S bounding V. This is quite similar to the statement that we have read in current electricity. In current electricity, we have learned that the rate of change of current is equal to the current flux passing through the surface S. This is similar to the statement of current electricity, and from that similarity it is reasonable to interpret the vector G as the probability current density. In case of current electricity, it was only current density, but in case of quantum mechanics, we can represent J as the probability current density simply from the comparison. So this equation is like this: del T P plus del dot J RT is equal to 0. This equation was in current electricity, was the equation of continuity. Similarly, in quantum mechanics also, we call this equation as equation of continuity. If del dot J is 0 in a state, then for that state the probability current density is constant in time, because if del dot J is 0, then del T of P will be 0. So such types of states will be called as stationary states. Now another thing to note, that equation 6.26, let us look at this equation again. In equation 6.26, the current probability current density J was expressed in this manner. You see the right hand side again. This is h cut by 2 im psi star grad psi minus psi grad psi star. This is the expression of what? This is the expression of the current density or probability current density. Now right hand side of this equation can also be expressed in this manner also. That is a real part of psi star h cut by Im into grad psi. If we evaluate the real part of this complex equation, then in both cases the right hand side will be equal. We are not going to derive this, but right now you consider that this right hand side is similar in both cases. That is, the right hand side can be expressed in this manner. Real part of Re means real part of psi star h cut by Im into grad psi. It may be noted that the operator h cut by Im grad represents P by M, because you see that here only M is there in the denominator as extra term, but this term is the momentum operator. So because h cut by I del, this is the momentum operator. So h cut by Im del represents what? P by M, momentum by mass, that is the velocity. So ultimately this j is equal to what? The j is equal to probability P, probability density P into the velocity. This velocity has been multiplied extra. So J is equal to P into V. Thus it is appropriate to interpret J as the probability current density. Why? Because we can write as J is equal to probability multiplied by V. Because here psi star psi is extra. You see the fact again. This is the operator h cut by Im del. This one is the operator. This operator is what? V. And apart from V there is psi star psi. So psi star psi is the probability. So J is equal to P into V. So the name is probability current density. It may further be noted that J vanishes if psi is real. You again see this equation, that is, this is J is what? Real part of psi star h cut by Im into grad psi. But if psi is real, then ultimately the real part of it vanishes. If psi is real, what will is the fact? It may be further noted that J vanishes if psi is real. If psi is real, then ultimately what will happen? That is, the right hand side of the equation 6.33 will become 0, because the expression is like this: psi star, complex part of psi, h cut by Im into grad psi. But we are saying that psi is real. But we are saying this psi is real. In that case, J will be 0. Therefore, for describing situation in which the probability current is non-zero, it is necessary to use complex wave function. So this is one of the important fact, that for describing situation in which the probability current is non-zero, it is necessary to use complex wave function. So today this is the end of the lecture. I want to thank you all who have listened by lecture. Thank you.